If you love real-life disappearances, chilling mysteries, and stories that blur the line between truth and nightmare, make sure you hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay with me until the end. Because tonight's story isn't just about a disappearance. It's about how 4 friends and their dog entered the wilderness for a simple camping tour, and 5 years later, what was found shattered every idea of what we think missing really means. The year was 1977. Gas was cheap, cars were heavy, and weekends meant freedom. For David and Sarah Owens, and their best friends Mark and Linda Patterson, a long-planned camping tour was exactly what they needed. They were in their late 20s, young, happy, and bound by years of friendship that started back in college. They often spent holidays together, but this trip was special. It was meant to celebrate both couples' anniversaries, just a few weeks apart. They'd chosen Crater Meadow National Reserve, a stretch of wilderness deep in Oregon's mountain range, known for its untouched trails, crystal rivers, and skies so clear you could see the Milky Way. Locals warned that parts of Crater Meadow were poorly mapped, but David, a seasoned outdoorsman, brushed off the concern. They brought along their golden retriever, Buddy, who'd been on more hikes than most people could count. He was loyal, gentle, and fearless, a walking alarm system in the wild. Before leaving, Sarah called her sister, saying, "We'll be back by Sunday night. Don't worry if you don't hear from us until then, the signal's terrible out there." It was a cheerful goodbye. It would also be her last. The couples left early Friday morning. Witnesses saw their beige station wagon passing through the small town of Oak Ridge at around 9:40 a.m. They stopped for gas, coffee, and snacks before heading toward the reserve. A park ranger later recalled seeing them near the Crater Meadow entrance, laughing, taking pictures, and letting Buddy run along the trail. Everything seemed perfectly normal. But sometime that evening, all traces of them vanished. When neither couple returned by Monday, their families began to worry. By Tuesday, when none of them showed up for work, a missing persons report was filed. Police organized an extensive search involving helicopters, volunteers, and forest rangers. Dozens of officers combed the area. But there were no tents, no vehicles, no belongings, nothing. It was as though they had evaporated into the forest. After 4 days, a pilot spotted what appeared to be a vehicle glinting under the canopy near a narrow service road. It was indeed their station wagon, locked, covered in leaves, and sitting a few hundred meters off the main path. Inside, rangers found half-used camping supplies, a folded map of the region, and a camera with a roll of undeveloped film. Everything else, their food, clothes, and Buddy's leash, was missing. When the photos were developed, investigators studied them frame by frame. The first few showed normal moments: camp setup, marshmallows over a fire, Buddy chasing a stick. But the final photo froze everyone in the room. It was taken from a distance, and the 4 friends were sitting by a campfire, smiling. But behind them, half hidden by the darkness, was the faint outline of a man standing at the tree line. At first, detectives thought it was a trick of light. But when the photo was enhanced, the figure's features didn't make sense. The face was elongated. The arms were longer than human proportions. The figure appeared to be watching them. It was dismissed publicly as distortion. But privately, the officers who saw it admitted they'd never felt comfortable looking at that picture again. The search continued for months. No footprints. No animal attacks. No clues. By winter, the forest was too harsh to continue. The families held memorials without bodies. And Crater Meadow became a name people didn't speak out loud anymore. 5 long years passed. The Owens and Patterson families tried to move on, but grief like that never really ends. It only hides behind daily life. David's younger brother, Michael Owens, never stopped searching. Every summer, he'd return to the forest, carrying his brother's old compass and Buddy's spare collar. Locals saw him hiking alone, tracing trails the authorities had long abandoned. He found nothing, until someone else did. In June 1982, a retired forest ranger named Harold McKinley, hiking with his nephew, stumbled upon an overgrown clearing deep in the western region of the reserve, an area long closed off due to rockslides. He noticed fragments of fabric caught on a tree branch, and when he followed the line of debris, he found what appeared to be the remnants of a collapsed tent. Beneath the moss and leaves were rusted metal poles, old cookware, and a collar. The tag read, "Buddy." McKinley froze. He knew the story. Everyone in Oregon did. He immediately marked the spot and reported it to the authorities. Within 48 hours, forensic teams returned. What they found turned a local mystery into a national headline. Investigators unearthed shredded camping gear, a melted lantern, and fragments of human bone. The bones were scattered but strangely organized. Forensic pathologists noticed they were arranged in a circular pattern, as though placed deliberately. Among the remains, a half-buried tin container was found. Inside were burned pieces of film and a charred notebook. The notebook belonged to Linda Patterson. Most pages were gone, but a few fragments survived. One read, "Buddy keeps barking toward the river. We heard something again last night. David says it's just the wind, but it sounded like footsteps. Someone's out there." Another, more faded entry read, "Mark says we should leave tomorrow. But I saw lights moving between the trees. They weren't flashlights. They floated." The burned film revealed one partially intact Polaroid. It appeared to show Sarah Owens, terrified, standing in front of the tent at night. Behind her, again, was that faint, human-like shape in the darkness. Forensic dating confirmed the remains belonged to David, Sarah, Mark, Linda, and Buddy. They had died sometime in July 1977. The cause of death? Inconclusive. The coroner couldn't determine whether it was exposure, trauma, or something else entirely. There were no clear fractures, no gunshot wounds, no claw marks, only a strange set of burn patterns on the bones that didn't match any known fire type. Investigators left Crater Meadow shaken. The case, once written off as Lost Hikers, was reopened. During the renewed investigation, an old report resurfaced. A truck driver named Earl Connolly had once claimed that in July 1977, he picked up a man along Route 62, not far from the reserve. The man was barefoot, shivering, and covered in mud. Earl described him as wild-eyed, like he hadn't slept in days. When Earl asked if he was okay, the man whispered, "The woods don't want us there anymore." Before Earl could ask more, the man jumped from the moving truck and ran into the forest. At the time, police thought it was unrelated. But now, after the discovery, that memory felt disturbingly relevant. Forensic experts revisiting the site noticed markings carved into nearby trees, symbols resembling Nordic runes, though their meanings didn't align with any documented language. An anthropologist later connected them to an ancient warning system used by indigenous tribes of the region. The markings meant forbidden ground or land of the dead. Had the campers stumbled into a place they shouldn't have? Locals told stories passed down for generations, of lights moving through the trees, of whispers that mimicked voices, of hunters who followed the glow and never came back. When a documentary crew later visited the site, all their equipment malfunctioned. Batteries drained within minutes. None of their audio recordings survived. Today, Crater Meadow is closed to the public. The government lists it as a restricted wildlife zone, but those who live nearby say that's not the real reason. Every year, hikers still vanish in the surrounding region. And each time, the search ends the same way, nothing found. Locals claim that at night, if you camp anywhere near the western ridge, you can still hear a dog barking in the distance. Some say it's Buddy, guarding his owners in death the way he did in life. Others report seeing flickering campfires deep in the woods, only for them to vanish when approached. And then there's the laughter. 4 voices, faint, echoing through the trees. The Owens and Patterson families never got closure. They held a joint funeral with 4 urns and 1 small box for Buddy. Michael Owens, David's brother, was asked what he believed happened. He simply said, "Something out there didn't want to be found, and it made sure they never were." Some mysteries defy explanation, not because we lack the evidence, but because the truth itself is something we were never meant to understand. The story of these 2 couples and their loyal dog reminds us, the wild isn't always empty, and silence doesn't always mean peace. If this story gave you chills, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because the next mystery might just change the way you see the world around you, forever.